Message may come later. Um, okay, so next we have Holly. Oh, not Molly. Sorry, we're going to Holly. I have Holly Becker. Hi, Holly.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Great.
It's so good to have you. So, you guys, Holly Becker, I have been following this woman for, God, I think a decade ish. I think about
Okay.
that. It sounds about
Cool.
right.
Yeah.
Holly what started as a blogger designer, and I was following her blog for, yeah, I would say about 10 years now. And then she came out with a book called Decorate, which just kind of blew up because you were like the trailblazer of taking blogging and how to's into a book. And
Yes.
then you wrote a second book as Decorate Workshop. And so I'm just excited to have you on because you are
Thank you.
kind of a genius also with Scandinavian design as well. And this was way before I think it even became a fad.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Probably.
I tend to be a little bit of forward thinking when it comes to um, what I find and what I share. I think that's maybe my unique selling point is that I tend to catch things a bit early because I love that part when you were talking to Allegra about yeah, like how artists see things a little bit differently, right? And I think like when people are really emotionally intuitive and really highly sensitive, like I am, you can just sniff out things ahead of time. And when I was living in America, north of Boston, I started just decorating in lots of light and light colors. Not I wouldn't say pastels, but just colors that don't absorb light, but that reflect light. And I was really drawn to this feeling of just coming home and kind of being in your own vacation spot. You know, feeling like your home is welcoming and cozy, but also there's some clarity in it. It's not loaded with stuff, right? So I started that 15 years ago when I started my blog. That was really the style that I started to show the most on my site. And over the years, it's evolved like I have. I've aged. Everything changes when you age. You gain, wow, it's fantastic. Like, okay, well, you get some wrinkles, but with that comes like really great things. You get like a real sense of who you are and a real sense of yeah, like you really figure things out for yourself. You really find your core, and
Mm.
hopefully you feel comfortable with where you are in life. And if you don't, then you change it. But I started back then as a blogger, and like you said, I wrote 4 books, and I've been doing lots of other things too. So it's been a real nice ride.
Yeah, the you also had a magazine, which I know unfortunately is not going on anymore, but you were
Yeah, no.
it was Holly, correct?
Yeah, it was called Holly. Yeah, we developed it here in Germany, and it launched in 2019, and then about 6 months in with Corona last year in September, we had to cancel it because we just couldn't sell copies anymore. The shops here have been closed, and people just aren't buying anything. We have a lockdown here now for quite a long time. So we canceled the magazine.
Yeah, the it's interesting, but there's always blessings in the pandemic or from what it came out. And I know that for you, there's been a big shift in your own home and what you've been up to and creating. And I was going to ask you, how have you, how has this inspired you?
Yeah, well, I think like it's really important that you kind of have a radical start. I'm sorry, I'm not really sure which direction to look. Do I look on this side or this side?
Where
Over here,
you're,
right?
yeah, right there. There
Here.
you go.
Okay, good. Because I changed my phone. So it's like, okay, where do I look? Yeah, so I think it's really good to have like almost it's like a radical starting point is to look inside of ourselves first and then look at our home. And that's an approach that a lot of people sadly don't take. They instead just look at their home, they see what they need to get rid of, they see what they need to keep, they redecorate, 5 times a year. They hardly make a pause and sit down with a journal and just start to make that change inside because the external is a direct or should be a direct reflection of the internal in a healthy way. And I think that when you have a home that really speaks to your heart and really shows who you are, and I don't want to wax on about this because everyone says, oh, yeah, make your home a direct reflection of who you are, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, got that.
But it's so
But
important.
yeah, but it's so important. It's important, but it's also, you need a home that's designed in a practical way, but it also needs to feel good. It needs to make you feel good. So it's like a catalyst, right? Your home, I always say it's a catalyst because that's your foundation. And if your home feels good, then it's a springboard to everything else in your life. You can leave your home every day feeling good because your home feels good. And you know, when you come home at night, you're going to feel good coming home to that as well because you've made it in a way that supports you. So, how do you do that? Well, with Corona, I think we've all learned to use our homes in very different ways. The living room is where we do multiple things now. My son is doing his homeschooling in our dining room. That's also where we do our arts and crafts. The dining room has become like where I record things. I mean, it's like the catch-all room, but that's made me think about, okay, maybe the dining room needs to have better chairs now, more comfortable chairs where you could sit for hours instead of for a half hour for dinner. You know, maybe I need to consider the lighting in here a little differently now because it's a little too dim if he wants to work at night. So the corona times have really shifted how we use our homes.
Mhm.
How about you? I mean, how has it changed for you over there in California?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, California was one of the states that was at the most lockdown as well. We're just
Yeah.
starting to come out. Um,
Oh.
and it has been the same. It's a lot of homeschooling at the dining table. So we got to really revisit, okay, changing the situation, my like changing, okay, so we don't need a guest room right now. No one's visiting. So we're gonna take that guest room and my husband gets just to claim it as his office studio, make it work for him.
Mm,
And just reclaiming different spaces. It's like, okay, really taking it like going macro, like how does this work for us? Is this set up for our vision and does it support us every day? Like, nope, this isn't supporting us right now. So just reevaluating it. And it's like, it's okay if I change. So the bookshelves near the dining room, I now have like arts and crafts stuff in there. So it's more of just, it's easy. It's not going down to a different room to get all the art stuff. It's right here. It supports us so we can put it back. So it's not just all out on the dining
yeah.
table. Now there's a place where it just goes directly right there and then comes back. And yeah, we've just been changing desk areas, lighting, big one that you're speaking into is like, okay, my kids, like we need different lighting now because it's just not working.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
exercise space has been the interesting thing. Like we now are exercising from home. So how can we create a space that we can move around
Yes.
and we can,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's just so much has changed. But I think like home actually needed to become more than a place where we drop our keys, shower, and sleep and eat. Because for a long time, a lot of us were caught up, and our home was just sort of a place we passed through. And I think Corona, you know, if you can take anything positive out of all of this, it has to be that. It has to be that our home became a nest. Became more of a sacred space. It became a place that required more attention because if you fuel and feed your home and build it into something positive and happy and supporting, then you can do other things in your life so much better. You don't have to just race through, dump your keys, go to bed, press repeat the next day. Um, you know, you have your occasional celebration and your occasional party, and that's it. Now with this particular pandemic, I mean, we're home all the time, and you just have really got to learn how to use your space. I mean, I've noticed, you know, it's really funny is I have this really nice sofa. It's a really nice sofa. And when I stress that because it was expensive. It's like the most expensive thing in my house. And I have the sofa and I thought it was beautiful and I ordered it online without sitting in it first. As a designer, I should know better. That was the stupidest thing I've ever done. But I did it because actually I remember seeing it at a fair and I sat on it like 3 years prior at a fair. And I just thought, yeah, I sat on that once and I think it's okay. So I'm going to buy it. I love it. It looks good. It looks good. So I bought that sofa And when I need to work on my laptop, when I need to call my friends, I call my mom a lot because she's over in Boston. Um, I go to my bed. I sit on my bed and I do everything now. And it made me realize something. I don't sit on the sofa for one reason. It looks good, but it is not comfortable. I don't like to sit on it. And it made me realize, like, authenticity, like I was talking about this today in my online class, and I was teaching my students about authenticity and trying to really help them to understand what authenticity is on a level of how do you market your brand online, because that's what my class is about. Authenticity is when you align your actions with your core values and beliefs, right? That's authenticity. It's the same at home. You have to have your home be an authentic expression of who you are so that both things are in sync. If you're a person who loves comfort, who wants to feel cozy at home, who wants that nice wrap, that nice blanket, you sit down and you take pride in the journaling moments or cups of tea or whatever it is that you do, right? That has to be aligned in your home. Your home has to support those things, because if those are the things you like and your home doesn't support that, then you're always going to be irritable. You're never going to feel really comfortable at home. So, yeah.
I
Do
love
you
that.
have anything to add to that?
No, that was perfect because I love that you spoke into that because it's either Kasia or Kasia has says, where do you start your design process? And that's exactly where I start my design process is what's the vision? Like, what's my vision being like, what's authentic to me? What do I love doing? What do I love
Yeah.
creating? Like, not what it should look like or what someone on Instagram posted, like not a rep, like what somebody like, oh, but my friend's place or this person's making this. Like, no, like I have in this rental here, we have these huge big windows that look at the redwoods and I didn't want to put anything in front of it. And it's like, yeah, I could put a chair there. And instead I just threw all these cushions. I used to teach, offer also like circles for women to get in a circle. We lay on these mats and we go into a meditation and we do some crystal stuff and some bowls. But I have all these mats. And I was like, okay, oh, I have those mats. So you stacked these mats and then I threw Moroccan blankets on them and I threw a rug on them and I just threw pillows.
Good idea.
And it was like, oh, but now it's become like the cozy corner it's my Sunday morning corner. It's my place where I can cozy up with my kids. I can stare out the window. And yeah, it can look messy and it's not perfect all the time, but it's inviting and I
Yeah.
feel good. And I look at it and like, oh, it's calling me there. Like, oh, come over and sit here. The lighting's just perfect. And so
Yeah.
I love how I always think of this space like, what am I doing in this space? What's the purpose of this space? Like,
Yes.
and being honest with myself.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, I
Yeah.
tend to work here. Okay, maybe your office should be in here if you're always working in here. Like, or it's like, what do you tend to do in the room? And then make it okay. It's okay because it's authentic to you. I love how you brought that up. It's
Yeah, I think it's important too, right? It's like to ask yourself. So for everybody on the call, hello, please ask yourself this question. What are your true needs at home? So maybe what you can do, this might be fun actually. We're coming up on the weekend, so you may have a little bit of time, is go into each room of your house. It might be one room, it may be 10, I don't know how you live. And you just look at each room and you have a notebook with you and you just honestly assess, okay, what in this room do I love? What do I hate? What do I do in here? What would I like to do in here? And you just go around to every single room and you play your own designer. And you go into every room and you ask those honest questions and you really think, what do I do in here? Because sometimes we have these rooms, like I have in Germany where I'm living for the past 11 years. I have an Altbauwohnung. This is like an old Jugendstil style house. So it's an old house with 3.5, 4 meter ceilings. We have what's called winter garden, a Wintergarten. And a winter garden, which that translates into, is basically like a 3-season porch, I guess you would say in America. And they're really like these lovely little areas off of your living room generally in homes here in Germany. And not all homes have them, but several do. And I have one. I have two actually. And, my winter garden off of my living room has always been quite nice. It's where I have all my plants, I have some of my design books. It's like my plant oasis. But the winter garden off of my bedroom, and, this is really embarrassing to admit because, well, I'm Holly. I mean, shouldn't I know what to do with my home? I'm writing books about it. But I'm also real. My winter garden became a storage room off of my bedroom. So it's like where I kept all my winter clothes, or it's where I kept my son's clothes when he was a baby. It just all kind of ended up out there, and the space never did anything. And this past January, I took 8 weeks and I did a total home detox. I got rid of 60% of my belongings. I went through every room, every closet, everything, and I just was really critical of everything I owned, and it included the winter garden. And now my winter garden is so much better, and I'm going to actually turn it into like a space for doing stretching and meditation and journaling. And that's going to be like my little room off of my bedroom where it's just going to be for me. It's just going to be my space. And I look at it now and I think, my God, I've been here for 11 years and I've never used it for anything nice. It's just been storage. Like, some people would kill to have this extra space. So I think that's like really important to do in your own home, is like look around the rooms that you're using and the corners of rooms that you're using and think, hey, maybe I could turn that corner into a little meditation, a little sacred space for my yoga. Maybe I could turn that corner into a little art space, put my easel there. Think, just really think. Because sometimes, I don't know about you, but when you get into your own home and your own like cocoon in your home, you stop looking at it. You almost don't see the flaws anymore. You just live with the pile of boots in the corner and all the 20 sets of keys that you don't know what they unlock. You just learn to live with that, right? But let's
Yes.
not learn to live with that anymore. Let's make a vow to ourselves that we're not going to learn to live around all of this stuff that it's not really serving us anymore. Let's just move on from it and just sort of start looking radically at our homes and making some changes for ourselves, because it's good for our emotional health and for our wellness.
Yeah, that was starting this morning off when Miv Watts had shared a quote, but it was about really having our home, like looking at it, is like, is it utilitarian for us? Does it serve us? Like, what does it
Yeah.
do for us? If it's just like not doing anything, it's energetically taking up space. And you guys, like, I think of it as when we go in and we take the things that are just taking up the energy and not serving you, when you remove it, you're allowing in for abundance. You're allowing in for new energy and new breath and newness, new creativity. Like, you create spaces to do art, you create spaces to do meditation. And for mothers, this is for me, is like one of the biggest questions, like, okay, where's your space? Where is the space in your home you get to go to fill up? Like, how do you take care of you? And so many mothers like, I don't have this. Like, it may be in the living room, I do yoga. I'm like, no, like, where is, it can be a corner. It could be just a little, it doesn't have to be this massive space. Because if you're thinking like, yeah, here in California, we can have huge homes. Some people have huge homes, and some people are living like a 1920s home where it's very tight and there's no space. It's like a little cottage, like, or even New York, where there's, like, my sister lives in like, a 300 square foot apartment. And so, but where's the space, like the sacred space you were speaking into? And is there something that you could remove that doesn't serve you and create that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those things too, that your home is always evolving. It's like it just keeps evolving as you age, as your life changes. If you're suddenly working from home all the time, why is it that you use the smallest most dark room in your house to be the office? If that's where you are 10 hours a day, maybe you need to think, okay, the dining room, I'm in there for dinner parties. Maybe the dining room needs to become a really nice office, and you just don't have a dining room anymore because who's celebrating with friends right now? So there's so many things that you can just shift around and change. It doesn't have to be permanent, but make sure your home is serving you today, and think about the spaces that you use the most as well. Because I noticed, like, when I used to have clients in Boston, I'd go to people's homes and do consultations and stuff. And I used to visit people, and their focus was always on the living room and the dining room. And then you go into their bedroom and it was like a storeroom with a bed. And I remember thinking, wow, like a lot of people don't really do much with their bedrooms. They're not really focused on the bedrooms. And I asked a lot of my clients why, and they're like, well, people don't see those. And I says, well, you see them. This is like your space where you go at night, and it's the first thing you see when you wake up and the last thing you see at night before you go to bed. So make it nice. And I think that's why so many people are drawn towards hotels and resorts, because we go to these beautiful places with where the focus is really on wellness, these beautiful bedrooms and luxurious mattresses and beautiful linens and great bathrooms. And we just don't want to leave. Most of the time it's because we don't have that at home. So
Yeah, I think Cassia was just asked a question, and I kind of think we just answered it in a way. She asked, what is essential at home right now in the post-COVID world? In the United States, a lot of other states have opened up. Based on your experience through the pandemic and what you were just speaking into, is the thing that we see when we wake up and we go to bed at night. Like, we get to create luxury around us, and it doesn't have to be
yes,
expensive.
no, no.
But like your bedroom gets to serve your wellness, like your state of mind. Like for me, that's been the most important thing that's come out of the pandemic is, okay, I'm waking up in the morning, what do I see? So like really shifting that, like I choose linens that feel really good and calm me. Like I get in bed, like my favorite point in the day is getting in my bed. Like to be
Yeah,
honest, favorite point.
yeah, yeah. Because it's time for yourself. It's time for you to do whatever you need to do. I mean, I like to read and journal and sometimes just play stupid games on my phone, and it just makes you feel good. I love it. That's like my time at night when everyone leaves me alone. It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is really, there was I had taken an intimacy course, and this is tying into the design. And when we took this course with my husband, they were really talking, this one woman spoke into your bedroom, and she was like, no, and it's true, no photos of anybody else except you and your husband or whoever, no photos. Like, don't put your children in there, don't put your grandparents, your mother. This is your sacred space. It is like a sacred space if you're in partnership with your partner. This is like your place to be. So no TVs, and we don't have a TV in ours, but like really everything gets to be intentional with that one place, that place that we go into a deep REM. Some, if you're like me and believe like when you go into sleep, you could be traveling dimensions, or you could be going into other energy fields if you're that type of person. But it affects us. Like having your grandparents like overlook you while you're sleeping, or your
That's
parents, and you wake up to you're like, oh, hi, mom. Like it's, for me, we have like things that remind us of our wedding, remind us of like the day we met. I mean, just those sacred pieces of our love is how we start and stop the day.
That's wonderful. That's beautiful. Yeah, that's really nice. I think it's important that we just really make sure that how we live is serving us well, because some people have just such small spaces and they don't have a lot of money and they have to do the best with what they have. It's not about decoration and overly decorating things and just kind of impressing people and what you can show on Instagram or whatever you do. It's really about, in my honest opinion, it's about bringing coziness to your home and feeling good there. Because when I think about the homes that I loved being in when I was a child, it was my grandparents' house. Both sets of my grandparents, I loved going to their house, and they had these tchotchkes and stuff everywhere, and there was always a radio on, or there was always a TV on. There was always a cross over every bed, a crucifix. There was just, these houses were just so different back then than the way people are decorating today. But that was grandma's house. It always smelled good. It smelled like food, and
The
there was
smell is
love.
important. The
Yeah,
smell is so key.
yeah, and her Christmas trees, their Christmas trees were so tacky. They were just overloaded and all kinds of lights, and but I loved it. I felt happy and cozy because at that time in my life, that was what, the 80s, when I was a young girl, I remember thinking this was my definition of love. This is what love felt like. So whatever love feels like for you today, it could be a lot of stuff around you, because I'm not anti-clutter. If you like a lot of things around you, go for it. as long as it makes you feel good. But if it's draining your energy, then get rid of it. But the goal is to make sure you're feeling cozy. Your home should feel no different than it felt when you went to your grandparents' house 20, 30 years ago, or last week, if your grandparents are still alive. It should feel like that to you when you walk home, get home at night. When you turn the key, put your keys down, you should say, you know what, this feels like home. I like this.
I love that Muriel, I can see her clapping right now. She's like, yes, yes, that is, I love it. It is so true. My grandparents' house was also filled with things that stirred my creativity and play. It was like, oh yeah, go play with anything you want. Like it was never
Yeah,
don't touch that thing. It was
right.
play, go play and let your creative mind just, it was also a lot of outdoors. We were told we got to be outside a lot. So a lot of, it was always going in and out was a thing for my grandparents. So that
Yeah,
was
back then
important.
was nice. Yeah, it was important for us as well. I remember the days when your mother used to send you in the backyard and just say, don't come home until it's dark. And I would never do that now to my son. I mean, the world has changed, right?
Yes, I lived on a farm with my grandparents for a while, and it was a large ranch in Oregon. And my grandma literally locked the door. Don't come in. You don't get to. She would. She's like, you don't get to come inside. But we had like these massive trees to play with. I obviously love nature, and all the animals, and we got to use our creative side. And she put food and water out. There was an outhouse over a creek. That's where we went to the bathroom. But it was late ranch, and it that forced us to be outside and to like actually use our creative minds.
Yeah,
Yes, and now as my with my children, like, oh God, I could never do that. Like,
that's right. You'd be
there's just
terrified.
that's not happening.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
know. It's so true. But that was your home, your yard, your backyard, your home is that whole space of property where you occupy. It's your backyard, it's your terrace, it's your balcony, it's your apartment in the city, it's your house in the country, wherever it is you live, it's your hut, it's your wigwam, wherever, whatever you occupy, that's your home. I
Mhm.
mean, I've been to lots of countries. I live in Europe and I've traveled and went to Turkey. I've been to Northern Africa. I've been all over Europe, Scandinavia, everywhere with my job mostly. And I've seen people living in all different types of ways. And you know, the bottom line is I've seen people live in houses with tin roofs and dirt floors, but they were happy. They were truly happy, sometimes happier than the people that are running major corporations because they really loved their life. They were happy. They had food, they had sustenance, they had love, they
Yes.
had family, they had a sense of community. We have lost our way sometimes, I think. We've really lost our way. We put so much value in objects and less value in emotion. And if we could just stop this and start bringing more emotion home, start filling our home with more love and memories, and learning how to make things support that mission instead of us working for our things, have our things work for us. That
Amen
can
to
bring
that.
happiness. Mm.
Oh yes, I like. Oh my gosh, yes. I've also experienced the favelas in Brazil, and the
Oh
Brazilians
yeah,
are more happy than like blissed out happiness, and they're living with a tin roof and like barely any walls. It doesn't. It's not about our stuff. It's the energy,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's with
It's
the
energy.
people around, their
Hmm.
families. So you have an offer today, because you have your program started. I love for you to go into that before we get to say goodbye.
No, sure. Basically, it's this. I've been working online for 15 years. I've done a lot in my career, and there's a lot of people that want to also work primarily online, whether it's blogging or using Instagram or doing classes, whatever it is that you want to do. You may want to run an online shop, whatever, anything basically online. I have a class. I've been teaching classes since 2009. I took 2 years off and now I'm back with this one. And this class is all about how to bring heart into marketing because there's a lot of people that are marketing online and it's very salesy and very hustly. And I'm not a hustle person. And that's fine for people who are, but I'm not. I'm basically a person who likes to put my message out there and do it with heart. And this class is for people like me, for people who really want to learn how to brand themselves, market themselves. And in a lot of ways too, it's a self improvement class. because in the first module of 4 modules, I really talk about how to find your voice, authenticity, and I really get into a lot of things I'm talking about here actually, but applying it to business. Because at the bottom line, the end of the day, everything feeds everything else. It's all coming from here. It's our core, it's who we are, our self-belief, our confidence, whatever. It's that feeds through everything else. The love that we have for ourselves, or the respect that we have for ourselves, this goes into everything that we do. And we can do it better if we just keep working on ourselves. And no one's perfect, and no one has all the answers, and no one can expect that from themselves. We have to be gentle with ourselves, but it's all about just making baby steps every day and trying to improve. And this class is really for everyone who wants to do more with their business online and wants to just learn how to level up a bit and come through this pandemic on the other side of it, saying, you know what, I took this great class, I was really inspired, I did something great with my business, I feel good now. So that's what my class is about, and it starts on Monday, just 2 days, so 3 days.
And
Yeah.
then we have it in the chat right now, and you have a discount code right there in the chat.
Yeah.
So if that sounds
Yeah.
like something that's up your alley, you can go ahead and grab it. And I want to thank you so much for being in here and enjoying your
Thank
Friday
you.
evening with us.
Yay! Thanks.
So thank you. It was really a beautiful experience to have you.
Thank you. Bye, ladies and gents.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye. Thank
So
you.